Live from the Christian Research Institute in Charlotte, North Carolina, you're listening to the Bible Answer Man broadcast with Hank Hanegraaff. We're on the air because life and truth matter. The mission of the Christian Research Institute is to equip believers to answer life's essential questions soundly and persuasively, and to give the reason for the hope that you have with gentleness and respect. To join us on air with your question, dial 888-ASK-HANK, which translates to 888-275-4265. For more information, go online to equip.org. And now, here's Bible Answer Man host, Hank Hanegraaff.
Thank you very much, Randy. Again, the number to dial, 888-ASK-HANK, numerically 888-275-4265. Our contact information on the web, equip.org, and via the mailbox 8500, Charlotte, North Carolina, zip code 28271. And while we do the Bible Answer Man broadcast, please be advised as well, if you are not already, that we also do the Hank Unplugged podcast, which is available at equip.org, on iTunes, and everywhere you consume your favorite podcasts. My conversation in a release this week is with Pastor Jack Graham of Prestonwood Baptist Church, and it features a wide-ranging conversation on the important yet often misunderstood topic of angels. The podcasts are available around the world, and just today my staff received a review sent to CRI from a missionary family in Ecuador who loves the podcast and says, "Good morning, Hank. We're missionaries in Ecuador. We love your podcast. We love it so much that we promote it through our ministry blog." By the way, Jack Graham in the recent podcast up this week is among the most influential Christians in America. The podcast with Jack is simply fantastic. There are so many 5-star ratings coming in, and I am grateful for every single one of them. Do want to mention before we go to our callers that there was an article in The Guardian that once again focuses our attention on the plight of Christians around the world. The article, written by Lily Kuo, says that in China, they're closing churches, they're jailing pastors, they're even attempting to rewrite the scriptures. So this new wave of Christian persecution in China is quite draconian. It is a reminder of what happened during the Cultural Revolution, where you had a decade of the most grotesque kind of persecution against the Christian church. And now the communists are seeking to do, well, even more in terms of propaganda, a new state translation of the Bible. Probably it will be akin to what Thomas Jefferson did to the Bible in America, where he sought to demythologize the New Testament. What is going on in China is an orchestrated campaign to sinicize Christianity, to reshape Christianity in the image of Chinese cultural norms, to turn Christianity into a fully domesticated religion that would do the bidding of the Communist Party. And to that end, authorities now have done all kinds of things, including removing crosses from buildings and even barring minors from attending church. Police raided recently a children's Sunday school at a church in Guangzhou. Another church is forced to use video surveillance and banned because they didn't. Bible sales no longer available online. Christmas celebrations banned, and the list goes on. And what we see in the midst of this draconian persecution is a continuing growth of the church. Some estimate that the church in China now numbers over 100 million, maybe much, much more. But again, the goal of the government is to promote a Chinese brand of Christianity. And they're now augmenting a plan that will last at least through 2022, which is essentially a plan of thought reform. And it calls for, again, retranslating and annotating the Bible to find commonalities with socialism. I suppose you might call it a communist study Bible. And Xi, in some ways, is returning China to a Mao-era attempt to control the hearts and minds of Christians. But, the church has always prevailed in the midst of persecution, and it will continue to do so. You think of what happened in the early church. The martyrs are myriad. And yet it was the seed of the martyrs, it was their blood that grew the church in the Roman Empire until such time that Christians were no longer burned or beheaded for their faith. But the empire itself became a Christian empire. And the potential for us to change the world in our generation is just as significant, and we must be about that task. I've said it before, and it bears repeating. We cannot do anything about the last generation, but we can do something about this generation. We can affect the culture. We can affect politics. We have the economic power to harness digital media platforms for the gospel. The Roman roads were a way of connecting civilization in the first century. Digital media platforms are a way of doing that in our century. We have the resources to do that. But all too often, we use our resources on things that have no eternal value. I was just talking with a colleague today about how Muslims in Saudi Arabia are using the full force of their pocketbooks to export Wahhabism around the globe. Madrasas and mullahs, mosques, spending hundreds of millions of dollars. They are doing for a lie what oftentimes Christians are not willing to do for the church. And that has to change, because we have unprecedented opportunities if we will but be faithful with the opportunities that God has given to us. Unfortunately, the church, instead of being faithful, is being precisely the opposite. It is conforming itself to the culture. In China, under duress. In America, you have the Episcopal Church expanding gay marriage to all dioceses. At the General Convention, Bishop Michael Curry passed a resolution that expanded the right for gay couples to marry in all dioceses, even where local bishops theologically object to same-sex marriage. So you have a church that is following popular sentiment rather than being a change agent in the culture. The church has become a microcosm of the culture. And this is a sad commentary, because a popular sentiment in the Episcopal Church today is that the Bible is increasingly irrelevant in our modern age of scientific enlightenment, and therefore when the Scripture's condemnation of homosexuality is referenced, it is not uncommon to see expressions of polite exasperation etched on the faces of the clergy. After all, the Bible not only condemns homosexuality, but also clearly teaches that Sabbath breakers must be put to death. Well, how do you deal with that? You need to know how to deal with that. This is the calling, not only of the Christian Research Institute, but the calling of everyone who takes the sacred name of Christ upon their lips. Well, we're coming to a station break. When we come back from the break, I will go directly to your calls. The number to dial, 888-ASK-HANK. And my thanks to all of you who are standing shoulder to shoulder with me in the battle for life and truth.